listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion, it's gotta go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Atheist Experience. Today is September 14th, 2013. We do have a live public access television show happening here in Austin right now. We're sponsored by ACA and some of the websites where you can get information about the program and the association would be atheist-experience.com for the show, and then atheist-community.org for the association for more information. We also have a blog where you can post comments on the open show thread if you'd like to comment about today's program at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP. Also want to announce that on September 27th, we do have our annual ACA Bat Cruise. Anybody that would like to come out for that is welcome. You can get information again on the ACA website that was just given a minute ago. And we can purchase tickets there. Whoops. Okay, if you want to go, there's information at the website. So there's also after the show dinner at El Arroyo for, again, anybody that would feel like coming out. If you feel like it, do it, and otherwise, you don't have to. So today we're flying a little bit solo. We got my host coming in, running a little bit late today, but I'm going to go ahead, I guess, and dive into calls. We don't really have a topic today. And I feel so much better now.
Hey.
Hey. Here's Mr. Glasser. And this might help.
Did you do the intro for me?
I have done the
Oh,
intro,
thank goodness.
so we're good. And we were just about to take
sorry,
calls, and you are welcome to use that while we
All
do
right.
calls.
I just got to say, I believed I was supposed to be on today. Then I checked the schedule, and
And it said Matt, I know.
So I
I
didn't
completely understand. And like I said, I've got the calls up if you just want to
Okay.
pop that.
Alisha in Washington.
Hi, my question is, I guess for both of you, Tracie too, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You sound great.
Okay. I am an atheist, but recently I had a conversation with my friend. He is one of the most honest people I know, and he was just telling me about a supernatural experience that happened to him. I was hoping that you could give me your opinion on why that may happen, like what in the brain causes people to experience things like that. It would be awesome if you could recommend like a book about that or something.
Okay, well, first of all, why don't you tell me what he experienced?
Something, like he and his friends were at a house, they saw figures, and the biggest part was they saw a car, but then the car disappeared. I'm not sure what would cause your mind to play a trick like that on you. I mean, shock and fear are very powerful things, but I don't know how that would happen.
I think it's really difficult when, like, have you talked to the other people? You say there's other people who witnessed to this?
Yes, and I have not talked to the other people, but he said that they
okay.
all saw the same thing.
Okay, let me just say that I one time got a letter from somebody who said they saw a giant angel made of rainbows one day in front of some mountains where they were, I guess, at some kind of a taco stand, and they had some friends with them. And during this dialogue, they actually took the initiative to go get in touch with their friends during the time that this happened, right? This giant 60-foot floating angel in the sky hovered in front of them and amazed them. You would think that would be an event that would be difficult for somebody to forget they experienced, and yet one of the three of them basically said that they didn't recall anything like that.
Oh.
So I think it's interesting what people see, what they think they see. The memory is an interesting thing. You can sometimes believe that you see things that you don't see. So have you ever had the experience of, for example, thinking that you saw something and then when you got closer to it, it wasn't quite what you thought it was?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but you felt like, oh, someone hit that dog, there's a dead dog in the road, and then you get up to it and it's just like a garbage bag. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this happens. And it could be the situation, especially when something looks like something else like that, from a particular vantage point, that you might have 2 or 3 people that say, oh, there was this poor dead dog in the road, right? And if you didn't ever get up close enough to it to examine it, everybody would say they saw a dead dog on the way to the studio tonight, right? I mean, but they didn't. They saw a garbage bag. So,
well, and also, like, don't forget confirmation bias, because if there were 3 people and, you know, one of them is like, oh, I just saw a car vanish, and, you know, even if some of the people were at first like, I don't think I saw anything like that. If you know, if the 3 people chat for a while and then one of them manages to convince the other that that's what he's seeing, you know, the other people do wind up like retroactively rearranging their memories. Maybe you've heard that like the number of people who believe they were at Woodstock is like several times more than the number of people who were actually at Woodstock. Because memory is a very selective and weird thing also.
it is, but I just want to say, like, I remember there was a story that was talked about a little bit on Nonprofits one night about a priest that everybody saw this priest at this event, and he disappeared, and the local church basically said that there was no you know, they didn't have anybody from the parish, and we were talking about, you know, different types of things that could have caused a thing like that, and I said, what if you just simply had a priest that was traveling? And guess what? There was a priest that was traveling, and he finally stepped up and said, I'm the guy that was at the accident. So you can have these things that occur that people just think are, you know, completely unexplainable, and usually they're pretty mundane. I don't think that they're that, like with the rainbow angel, in fact, I actually found a type of phenomenon that does make rainbow-looking people and angels up in mountainous areas that you can go and Google. I forget what it was called, but I did do a thing about it at the blog, so there might be something mentioned there that you can see. But I mean, the idea of actually finding giant rainbow angels as an illusion in nature was, to me, really interesting because I had never heard of this thing, and yet it described perfectly what somebody was saying that they had seen.
Right, but I mean, with this story, as with a lot of other stories, the bottom line is that you can't be asked to explain an event that you weren't there to verify. I mean,
can't go back and examine.
Yeah, you're getting this stuff secondhand from your dad, who presumably is a believer, right?
Yeah.
Or my friend.
Oh, I thought you said, okay. But yeah, your friend presumably is a believer and is telling you that this weird thing happened that they experience as supernatural, and they're telling you that the other friends experienced it too.
Right.
But you can't actually go and experience it yourself, and you only have this other person's word for it that that other people would back them up if you asked them.
And I guess my point is, even if people did back them up, we have no way to look at what happened. So there's no way to go back and repeat this to say, like, what did you see? Did you see a reflection? Did you see some shadows? Did you see something that was misinterpreted? There's no way to know that. It's like I'm saying, when you drive by that garbage bag in the road and it looked like a dog to you, from that point forward, you saw a dead dog in the road. It doesn't matter that that's not really what you saw. It's what it appeared to be to you, and that's how you processed it, and so that's the memory.
Yeah, when I was a kid, some friends and I thought we were seeing a UFO. And it disappeared as we stepped closer, and it turned out, as we figured out a short time later, it was light on a spider web.
I was, just for the past few days, I've been thinking about this and wondering, you know, why so many people have experiences like this, and I was maybe thinking that maybe there was a field of research that I could go into to school to study why people experience this kind of thing. But like you said, Tracie, it's not a controlled setting that you can really I've never experienced something like this, so it would just be.
How long, can I ask you, how long ago did they claim this occurred?
Oh, I'm not sure when it happened to them.
Okay.
They just told me about it about a week ago, I think.
Okay.
Ah.
Do you know what time of day it happened?
Oh, it was at night.
At night, yeah, okay, that's common as well. And at night, I just want to remind people that you don't see things as clearly and as well. People are not really geared toward night vision.
Is there any books that you could recommend about this kind of thing, or no?
I don't know.
I don't know anything
It's hard to
specifically.
recommend a book because there's so many different things, I guess, that could cause a thing like this.
I would recommend picking up a book. Well, I mean, I was going to say some kind of cognitive psychology book or something about the way the mind works, but I haven't really read a lot of those books.
Russell mentioned an interesting thing. I think you were calling it. I don't remember what. But if you look up confirmation, like what is it?
Bias.
Not confirmation bias, but when people comply with other people, conformity.
Oh.
If you look up conformity studies, right, conformity research, you'll find some interesting things about how people's perceptions can be changed simply by somebody else making suggestions. So it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of things that you can mess up about a person's memory just by simply suggesting something.
Yeah, there is an expert you can get in touch with. His name is Dr. Peter Venkman. He's a Ghostbuster. No, never mind.
We're just playing with you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you guys so much, and I just wanted to say that, Tracie, you're really awesome. You inspire me. Thank you so much for, I don't know, I love watching you, but thank you guys so much.
All right, well, glad if you take something away from it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Steve in Brooklyn.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I know Matt's probably off on vacation because he probably needed time off. I didn't catch your name so I could address you properly. Well,
I'm Russell.
And I'm Tracie.
Tracie, I know you because you were there last time with Matt. It's nice to meet you guys. I think you guys run a wonderful show, and you guys are cool guys. And atheists, I think, are pretty cool.
Okay.
Thanks. Well, are you not one?
No, I'm still in the transformation period.
Okay.
From what to what?
From basically right now I'm like right now I'm still a Catholic, going agnostic, and then hopefully into atheist.
Hopefully.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't hear a lot of people talk about atheism that way.
No, I remember talking to you, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's more or less one of the way I could describe myself. But the question I wanted to ask was, is basically there's people who say when they have a near-death experience, they experience a white light, and they say that white light, they've written a lot of books about it, that people, that's a sign, like maybe there's a possible afterlife. I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Okay. Have you ever broken a bone, Steve?
No.
You have never broken a bone. I one time got hit by a car, broke my femur. It was not a very pleasant experience. There was a lot of pain. And I imagine that everybody, when they break their femur, has some pain. Do you think that probably makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that when a brain might be shutting down and have a lack of oxygen, that it might make sense that a lot of people have a similar experience with that. Don't you think that could be possible?
Well, basically, I'm not a scientist, but
right. But you know that vision is tied to like areas of the brain, correct?
Right.
Right. Your vision is processed by your brain, and so let's say that you had some kind of a brain injury or problem with your brain, and oxygen wasn't getting to it. Like, have you ever fainted?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how? Did you see well before you fainted? What happened to your vision?
Well, when your vision comes back, it's blurry.
Excuse me?
It's blurry.
Okay, but I mean, before you finally went unconscious, didn't you kind of lose your capacity to see? Did things go a little bit gray and not quite visual? Did you lose visual?
Well, things actually come out dark.
Okay, when you go unconscious. But what I'm saying is, on the way to unconscious, I've had I donate blood sometimes, and I'm not a huge person, and so there have been a few times where I've almost fainted after giving blood. And when that happens to me, one of the first things I lose is my vision. I end up getting like light gray and white, like it just everything whites out, and this happens because blood is not doing what it should do. So I'm simply suggesting that perhaps the way an experience of, for example, getting lightheaded when you donate blood would be similar for human beings because the brain and the body react in the same way. Doesn't it make sense that you might have some visual interference that occurs when a brain is deprived of oxygen that might be similar between people because they all have the human brain?
No. What a lot of these people who had these near experiences, who experienced this white light, and they were maybe supposedly like dead for an hour, and they wrote a lot of books on these things. They're saying that could be a possibility of a one claim that there could be an afterlife.
Yeah. I just pulled up something on the Skeptics Dictionary right here that might actually be helpful in this discussion. That's skepdic.com. And it says, skeptics believe that near-death experiences can be explained by neurochemistry and are the result of the brain states that occur due to a dying, demented, extremely stressed, or drugged brain. According to Susan Blackmore, vision researcher Dr. Tomas S. Troskianko of the University of Bristol speculated, if you start with a little neural noise and it gradually increased, the effect would be like a light at the center getting larger and larger and hence closer and closer. The tunnel would appear to move as the noise levels increased and the central light got larger and larger. If the whole cortex became so noisy that all the cells were firing fast, the whole area would appear light. So that seems to be one of the explanations for why this sort of tunnel effect occurs.
And the other thing to remember is that your body will do things to you to help you deal with bad situations. So for example, when my femur was broken, it hurt initially, but then I went into shock. And after that occurred, I didn't feel anything anymore. I was just upset, but I have no memory anymore of any pain with that. So I think as well, you might have situations where your body undergoes stresses and traumas, and they talk about things like runner's high, where your brain releases things like, you've got chemicals in there like dopamine, and I know there's other chemicals too that deal with stress or come out when you're in pain or stress that sort of help you handle that, sort of counteract it. So you can have these, euphoric feelings even in a situation where you're having a really bad time or your body's shutting down in some way.
So in other words, when people who do experience that's not one fact that's like showing that there's a sign of a possible afterlife or a possible heaven.
No, I mean, it's a sign of a common experience, and when you have a common experience, that doesn't necessarily point to a specific explanation. And when people who believe in the afterlife take this common experience, they want to attribute it to, they come up with sort of just so stories, kind of explanations about why things look at a certain way, and they sort of shoehorn it into the religion of their choice.
So in other words, believers who mention these kind of things that happen to people, it's just one excuse that they're giving for people to believe in still.
Sure.
Yeah, ultimately, there's no way to demonstrate that there would be some sort of otherworldly cause to this. I don't know how a person would demonstrate that it wasn't just some sort of, dream or brain-induced hallucination. Like, I don't know how you would be able to investigate that without coming back with maybe potentially some information that would be useful to demonstrating that you actually did have some sort of afterlife experience.
So in other words, that doesn't give you, the people who have those kind of experiences, that's one thing that we could dismiss as not one of the proofs that there's an afterlife.
It doesn't convince me.
Yeah, it's not that we're trying to go out of our way to dismiss it or anything. It's just that the burden of proof is on the person making a positive claim, and people who claim to have come up with an explanation for the various things that happen when they're near death, and say, oh yeah, there's all this stuff like another universe where your consciousness goes to forever, even though the chemical processes in your brain that appear to be generating it have shut down. Oh. They have to come up with something better, like Tracie said, than just, I really want this to be true.
Well, I have a really good example here, Steve. Like, you go to bed at night. Do you ever dream?
Yes.
What if somebody suggested to you that when you're dreaming, you're actually going to other dimensions, and those places that you go in your dreams at night, you're actually there? Like you're traveling, spiritually to some other realm, and that's what that is. I mean, if somebody were to suggest that, I would think the first question would be, why? Like, why are you suggesting this? Why do you think that this is what's occurring, as opposed to just my brain, making images and telling stories at night and just sort of processing information? I mean, the idea that you're used to the concept of a dream as simply, this is what my brain does at night when I go to sleep, would make you a little bit more skeptical of the idea of somebody telling you that, no, you were really there. You were that person that you dreamed you were talking to, or when you dreamed you were flying, you were really flying. You probably would just be like, no, that's just what your brain does. And what I'm suggesting is that when a person is dying, their brain may do certain things, that this is what a brain does. We just probably have a smaller sample set because most people aren't running around dying. Well, I take that back. Most people are dying, but
not running around.
Yeah, I mean, but the experience of like almost dying and then being revived is probably rare, considering the number of people who don't have that experience.
So basically, that's a great answer, because that kind of lets me know to dismiss that, because that was kind of making me still believe that there's something.
Ultimately, it's your call. I mean, if you find something compelling or you don't find something compelling, that's that's kind of up to you.
No, but your answer made it very clear for me.
Okay, good.
Basically, that's basically just one of the religious rights excuses that they help keep believers still believers.
Well, I mean, not exclusively the religious right. It's all religious people.
Yeah.
Explaining away death because it's an uncomfortable topic seems to be one of the main reasons religion exists, in my opinion.
Right. Now, there's something that atheists refer to them sometimes as. They refer to them sometimes as atheists. And
as what?
Sometimes atheists refer to themselves sometimes as atheists. And I want to get your answer. Do you know what an atheist is?
I never heard of that.
No, I've heard of an atheist, which is somebody who just basically says that the question of does a God exist is so ill-defined that it can't be answered because it doesn't make sense.
And I was trying to find out what does the I stand for in the atheist.
It's a new product from Apple.
Yeah.
No, and basically
it's a theist with a USB port.
And basically but the I think what they're trying to refer to as an individual theist.
I know a lot of atheists, and I don't know anybody who has ever used that word. So when you say some people, I can't really address your experience.
I haven't seen that one yet, so that's a new one for us, Steve.
Well, no. The thing is, I saw this on the internet on Google.
I believe you. There's lots of things on the internet. Yeah. I haven't seen them all, but I'm sure there's, Rule 34.
Well, no.
So.
Are you saying that people want to get naked with these atheists? I don't know.
I'm just saying that probably someone.
No. They were trying to refer to it. There was a description of they are basically like atheists who basically worship themselves, or more or less just care about more or less themselves.
Was this actually used by an atheist, or was this used sarcastically by a preacher trying to characterize atheists?
Well, no. I spoke to one atheist who referred to himself as an atheist.
Okay.
And basically, it's like they're taking atheism and basically they're going a little bit further. They said, and I don't know if this is true or not. And they're saying they're instead of not believing in the God, basically they believe in themselves and as individual.
I mean, I can't tell if they mean that, but
I don't know if that qualifies.
Yeah, but if they're if they're attributing powers to themselves, I think that's not taking atheism further.
I have powers.
All right.
no, because doesn't that, in a way, kind of, if somebody claims something like that, doesn't that kind of like sound like as if they think they're their own God or something, I think?
I suppose, but you'd need to ask the person if that's what they really think.
I can't. We really can't comment, and I don't think
Yeah.
this is out of
Okay.
the depth of it.
I
other
think
words-
we're going to move on to another caller, Steve.
So, no, I just wanted to quickly ask you one last thing, if I could.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, because this is the only thing left that helps me on my journey. The Catholic Church says that the Bible is basically the physical proof. The Word of God is the physical proof for belief. And I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, and the Odyssey is the physical proof of Greek gods. I mean, you know, of course they say that. It's not physical proof. It's just people writing stuff down.
Because basically I could say to a priest, well, I could write a book, and in 100 years I could have other people believe in it too. And
Well,
would you believe in it?
I mean, look
Yeah,
at all those
look-
people with the near-death experiences, Steve. What
Look
if
at
they
the
all
Book
wrote
of
it down?
Mormon.
It doesn't change just because you write it down instead of speak it.
Right.
It's still just a story.
So basically, the Bible that they're saying is the physical proof. That basically is just their excuse, more or less, to keep people into believing.
I don't know. I mean,
Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure. Nice talking to you, Steve.
Yeah.
See ya. JP in Canada.
Hi, Russell. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks. I'm a humanist, and I've been dating a girl for a couple of months, and her family's from Pakistan originally, actually. And when I first met her, she said she wasn't really religious, she wasn't practicing Muslim. But when we started talking about having kids, she said that she wanted a child to learn the Shahada and to be like reciting that to the Pakistani community here in Ottawa. So I wanted to get your guys' opinion on that, and she sort of said, oh, it's just a cultural thing, the words don't really mean anything, but it's one of the pillars of Islam, so I have a real problem with it, and I wanted to know if you guys thought that should be a deal breaker.
Well, first of all, how long have you been together?
Just a couple months.
Okay. Did she say why?
Did she say why? She said that it was because she wanted her parents to feel good about it. And
Do her parents, I mean, is she a non-believer, do you think, or?
My best way to define her right now would be a theist who's kind of not sure if she's fully a Muslim or not. Like,
Okay.
She really takes pieces out of the Quran that she likes and leaves
Here's
the
the
rest.
thing about getting into a relationship. You should go into your relationship prepared to believe that she's going to be exactly the way she is now 10 years from now. So don't tell yourself that this person is maybe an uncertain person who's going to become an atheist soon, because that means that you are going into a relationship with the expectation that this other person is going to change for you. Not all relationships work out, and I mean, I hate to say that, but on the other hand, it has only been a couple of months, so it's not like, I'm not telling you to break up with your girlfriend.
Okay.
But I am saying that you should be prepared to have some serious conversations about whether the two of you are actually compatible in this way, because because it sounds like a few things could be going on. Your girlfriend could be really harboring these ideas that the Islamic religion is actually true, which could be a problem for you. Or she could also be prepared to lie to her parents and a bunch of people in order to gain acceptance, which could also be a problem for you because you're going to be involved in those conversations. So I wouldn't jump into marriage without making sure that this stuff goes out on the table.
Yeah, what I was thinking of doing is just putting it down on paper, writing down what my expectations were and what hers were. And I know it sounds maybe a bit premature at 2 months, but I've been in a relationship with someone from a different culture before, and sooner the better when you're talking about things like this, I think.
What would be the advantage of writing it down as opposed to having a conversation?
Well, then if it was written down, she couldn't say later that she, meant something else.
Oh,
I'd
man,
have
you're
an
trying
actual
to entrap
document.
her.
Yeah, no, this is no good.
This is not a basis for a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and the thing is, people,
Okay.
you can't hold people to things like that anyway because their minds change. I mean, she could be honestly presenting herself and then 6 months from now decide that she wants to go full-on Muslim, and it isn't that she lied to you today, it's that she progressed in that direction.
Yeah, and if you're not trusting her to say what she really means and to stick to it, then why is this a person you're considering marrying?
Well, I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
I'm not there yet, but
Yeah, but you're talking about having kids, so I
That's true.
assume that's in there.
that's true.
And how is her family with her dating you?
I don't think they know that I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how long is that going to be a secret?
That's what I'm asking her too. I don't know, but you have to be kind of open-minded because let's face it, a lot of girls aren't atheists, right?
Yeah, but they're not all Muslims either.
No, that's true.
I mean, and it's kind of the same even if no matter what religion. I mean, if somebody's raised in a religion and they still have theistic tendencies, there's always the possibility that they're going to get more involved in this, that somebody in their family will talk to them, that they'll have some weird guilt reaction to something, and that they will start getting more interested in that religion that they were raised in. It doesn't happen always that way. There's definitely people who were raised religiously that maintain like a very amorphous theistic perspective, and they don't ever really get crazy religious. But at the same time, you can get really into that if that's what you were raised in and you already have some sort of a proclivity toward it.
Yeah, and JP, I want to warn you not to think that being an atheist rules you out of most of the dating pool, and because of that you should somehow settle for somebody that you're not really compatible with. Because the fact is, finding a match with a person is really hard for everybody, no matter what religion they are. I mean,
That's true.
like I always say, there's 33,000 different sects of Christianity, so even though it's easy to find a Christian, it may not be so easy to find like, a Northern Fundamentalist Baptist Great Lakes Region Council of 1879.
Yeah.
So, it takes a lot of looking around to see what's out there. And, there are a lot of really great dating websites in the world these days that help you do that initial filtring.
Yeah. And I'm not down on like being with a theist. I'm married to a theist, so I'm, I'm
really?
totally okay with it. But I'm not married to somebody who's telling me they're going to have if we ever had kids, they would be reciting religious, testimonies either.
Yeah, that's the
So-
thing. That was what really shocked me, because the idea of a theist isn't so bad to me, but the Shahada, like that's the whole Muhammad is the prophet statement. It's one of the pillars of Islam, right?
Yeah, and if she feels that pressure from her family, that's another bad thing. And that's the cool thing too about my partner is that that family pressure does not come to bear. It was something that we dealt with early on in the relationship, where it was just like the family is not going to dictate what we have going on in our relationships or how that is, how that plays out. They have no say and no bearing in this. It's between you and me. And so that's another thing. When somebody basically, it's be one thing. I can kind of be down with the cultural thing when somebody says, for example, if you were to say I'm dating a Jewish girl and she wants to have Passover dinner with her family, I would be like, what's the harm? But if you're talking about a situation where they're like, I don't really believe it, but I feel pressured to have to go to dinner because my mom and dad, now you're dealing with another set of stuff. Because now you're dealing with somebody who's basically telling you my family can coerce me and manipulate me into certain things, which means that you're now looking at a situation where you have a potential power play between you and the family.
There are so many books written by marriage counselors about dealing with manipulative in-laws. That's a whole nother can of worms, even apart from the religion.
That's true. Okay, well, you've given me a lot to think about. I guess I won't go with the written statement route.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't hold a
if
person
nothing
to
else,
it.
it's because it just comes across as super condescending. If nothing
Yeah,
else,
you're right.
maybe pick up a relationship counselor who would get you talking and saying the uncomfortable things.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'm all for like good counseling to facilitate better communication. So that's a good idea.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Sure.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Jason in Vermont.
Hey, hi guys, how
Howdy.
you doing?
Good,
Hi,
thank you.
I'm good.
Hey, I'd like to ask a quick question, then if I can take a quick minute to tell you why I'm asking, if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, I'm hearing myself echo. That's crazy.
Make sure that you don't have a computer or something playing the stream back at you.
No, I am outside in the Vermont cold, so
Okay.
no other noise. The question is, if do you think that people are just hardwired to be atheist or theist, like genetically or in the brain?
Let me ask you something. A lot of people are atheists who used to be theists, so how do you process something like that?
Well, I think through indoctrination, maybe. Like
Right, but you're talking about hardwire, a theory of hardwire. So I'm asking you, how do you process the idea that people change, that people who were not raised religiously become religious, and people who were raised religiously leave religion and become atheists? Like, if this is a hardwiring, what exactly do you mean by that, and how do you explain these shifts in beliefs?
I love talking to you people because you say things so eloquently. I don't know. I mean, the answer is I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I take, just as an example, we'll talk about Matt because he's not on the show today.
Okay.
He grew up in a very religious family,
Sure.
and I'm just wondering, and of course I have no idea, I haven't researched this or anything, that perhaps he always was hardwired to be an atheist, but through his indoctrination, social conditioning, or whatever, he it was hidden. It didn't come out until later on, and then the truth finally came out. I don't know, something like that. What do you think?
I want to say that it's a combination of things, and it's not completely crazy to ask if there's a psychological component to it, because I remember a study that came out a couple of years ago indicating that there was some kind of psychology study demonstrating that liberals and conservatives actually have slightly different built-in brain chemistry. But of course, your brain chemistry from birth is not the be-all, end-all of what your ultimate opinions are going to wind up being. They can just influence you, just like a pushy family can also influence you, just like growing up in one culture instead of another can influence you. Where if you grew up in a Middle Eastern country, you would be much more likely to turn to Islam than Christianity.
Yeah.
And if you grew up in, let's say, Sweden or one of those European countries where they have a very high number of atheists, you just wouldn't get that pressure toward believing in God. People can buck all kinds of trends because there's this complicated mix of things that forms their opinions.
Right. I mean, I live in Vermont, which is the least churched state per capita in the country.
Lucky you.
And I know, it's pretty nice. And so anyway, the point I asked the question, if I can just take a quick minute, is I had two friends. I'm 41, but back in high school, I had two close friends, and the three of us are very close. And one of them grew up in a very religious family. His parents ran some kind of ministry or whatever it was, and his sisters and his brother very, like I come from no monkey, kind of religious. And I mean, really, that's what they said. I've seen the Facebook chats, but my friend, he's the atheist of the family, and he always has been, and we've talked about it, and that amazes me. And then the other friend in this group, I spent the night at his house all the time. He spent the night at my house. We never talked about religion. He didn't go to church, and his parents didn't. They're friends with my parents, So, I mean, it just like never came up. And he married into a religious family, like in his late 20s. They moved to Alabama or wherever. And we reconnected on Facebook, and we started getting into these, Facebook debates. And I asked him flat out. I said, "Are you a creationist now?" And his answer was almost. And it just floored me because it came out, to me, it came out of nowhere. So, that's one of the reasons why I asked if, this was just a hardwired thing that would eventually find its way to the surface. I don't know.
No. I mean,
Okay.
Or it could be. I can't say for certain, but I think most atheists you'll meet are the atheist in their family because most people come from religious families in general. And people, some people come from Western liberal Christian families and wind up going Islam, and not just Islam, but serious enough Muslim to move to the Middle East themselves and start engaging in terrorist operations. It doesn't happen often, but it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think exposure to information, in fact, there are particular metrics that seem to correlate to higher degrees, or I guess less degrees of religiosity and higher degrees of religiosity, such as like education level, things like that, which I think demonstrate at least, the potential for influence of, factors that could impact whether a person believes or not. So if there is any kind of hardwiring, it's certainly not to the point where it would be a destiny. It might have some slight impact, but there's other factors. I think for myself, especially, just access to information made a huge difference for me.
I'm sorry, but maybe the better way to question is, maybe are people more genetically prone to being skeptical? Maybe rather than saying atheist or theist, say skeptical or not. I don't know.
I don't know if we can answer that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Elijah in Alabama.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I've only seen a couple of your YouTube clips here recently, and I've been I've noticed this topic of burden of proof comes up every now and again, and it seems to me, and I know you guys don't believe in God and all that, but it just seems to me that from the perception of God always existing, would the burden of proof not be on the foot of the atheist to disprove God as opposed to the Christian to prove the existence of God?
Well, let me ask you something. Do you believe in unicorns?
Well, I mean, unicorns are in the Bible.
So yes. Okay. Do you believe in leprechauns?
Well, no, no.
Have you conclusively proven that there aren't any leprechauns?
No. I mean, I'm not in the business of disproving anything, really, though.
All right. Well, there you go.
What do you mean?
I mean, we're not necessarily in the business of disproving God. We just don't believe in a God.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not asking you to disprove God or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand where the burden of proof comes from in the perception of somebody who believes in God and has believed that God has always existed. Why would the burden of proof be on that person as opposed to the person who's denying the existence of God?
Well, first of all, a person's not necessarily denying the existence of God to not believe it. Just like there might be somebody who says, I'm not sure, whether or not my husband is faithful. I don't know what I believe there. And you say, well, so you don't believe they're faithful, right? So you think they're cheating? No, I don't know. So not believing something doesn't mean that you necessarily are calling it false. But at the same time, when someone makes a claim, like let's say someone comes to me and says God exists, I don't even know initially what they're claiming. So I'm asking questions like, what do you mean by God? And what are you looking at when you're talking about God? What kind of reference are we making? And when you make claims about this God, where do I go in order to assess those claims about reality so that I can then try to determine whether what you're claiming about the God is correct or not correct? Otherwise, it's just you simply talking about what you believe without me having any way to verify it. And so obviously, if I've got competing people coming to me with competing claims about God, I have to have something by which to say, what is it that we're talking about? Where is the evidence for me to examine to try and determine, what is correct among all these claims, right? So the people have to present their evidence in regard to what they're claiming here.
Yeah, I can see that. I get what you're saying. But I'm just kind of like, let me think of a way to state this perfectly here. I guess I'm just trying to say that, I meet atheists out there, through my friends, you know, at get-togethers and whatnot, and they'll come to me saying that when maybe I'll make a statement about God or something like that, just offhandedly, and then they'll come to me saying that God doesn't exist. So would the burden of proof be on them if they're saying that to me?
Actually, I think at that point, if they're flat out saying God doesn't exist, you are perfectly within your rights to say, can you prove that?
That's why I called you guys, because I mean, they told me, well, the burden of proof is on you as somebody who believes in God, and I'm kind of thinking, I already believed in God. If you come to me and say that God's not real, then the burden of proof would lie on you.
Yeah, I agree. And I would probably, in that case, because I would be the type of person who would probably say, I accept that a God doesn't exist. And I would probably go back toward that leprechaun example, basically saying, no, I have not demonstrated this to a certainty, but at the same time, we don't generally expect people to demonstrate things to a certainty before we accept they don't exist, and leprechauns are a great example of that.
Yeah, now, having said that, I mean, I don't want to give the impression that I don't feel solid about not believing in God. I mean, I think there are perfectly good reasons not to believe in God. I just wouldn't say for certain, absolutely not, I have ruled out all possibility of God existing. And it sounds like your friends aren't on the same page with me.
Or it's fair to just simply ask them what they mean by that, like ask them to explain it, because like I said, if I were to make such a statement, I would happily go to the leprechaun example and just simply point out that, you believe in this God and you think I'm wrong to say that the God does not exist, and yet you'll say leprechauns don't exist, and you'll admit that you haven't demonstrated it, and yet you accept that as a fair statement. So I would tend to sort of say I'm using it in that same vernacular, and if you can accept it in one instance, you should be able to accept it in the other and understand the intent. And so in that regard, I would probably explain it that way. I don't know, I can't speak for your friends, but I do think at the point they say God does not exist, it's completely fair for you to say, what do you mean by that statement? And you are making a positive claim here. So you do need to sort of explain what you mean.
In the whole thing about the leprechauns, I can see how that is a good example. I get what you're trying to say there. But I mean, I've heard people say this on your YouTube clips. They'll say, well, I feel the existence of God. And you say, well, people felt the existence of Zeus. And I can understand where you're coming from with that. You can't prove a feeling, there's no evidence in a feeling. I can understand that just fine. But you don't feel the presence of a leprechaun. You don't feel the presence of a unicorn. I just don't.
But people feel the presence of all kinds of weird, like woo things, right? Like there's people that believe in all kinds of strange, healing techniques and things.
Yeah, they believe in like auras and chakras, and I'm
pretty
sure you don't believe in that stuff because that would be blasphemous, right?
No, I don't believe in that. But at the same time, I would say it's because had I felt an aura, per se, then I would be given the chance to believe in such a thing. But I've never felt that, so I can't believe in that.
Yeah, but until you do, it's kind of reasonable to take sort of a skeptical.
I mean, I've never experienced sonar, but I believe in it. I mean, just because I haven't experienced a thing doesn't mean that I don't believe in it. Like I say, I believe in sonar even though I don't have that capacity.
Well, yeah, but that's something that that can be proven. Sonar can be proven.
Exactly. Yeah, but an aura can't. See, this is the issue. And so when somebody's talking about a God and they're saying, "I feel this," I'm saying, I don't doubt that you have feelings.
If we only exist in if we only exist in what we perceive to be real and what we sense to be real and what we feel within ourselves, and I feel God within myself, or what I'm labeling as God within myself, would that not be proof to me? Not necessarily to other people.
The question, though,
of the existence of a God.
The question for me would be, when you say you feel God, what is it that what in reality, right? Because you're saying it exists, so I assume it's real. What in reality are you calling God? What is it that you believe you're feeling? Can you demonstrate this to me?
Yeah, it reminds me of a story I read by Dan Barker, who used to be a fundamentalist Christian minister, and then lost his faith gradually and became an atheist. And he said one of the events that stands out in his mind when he was a serious believer was that he strongly felt the presence of God one time, like giving him driving directions, telling him he was going to see a sign if he drives to some specific place. And he heard, like, now turn right, now get out of the car and walk into this field. And he walks out into this field and nothing happens. And he's like, well, I must not be understanding the sign properly.
Right.
There are things people feel,
that sounds more like schizophrenia than it does God.
But it's not schizophrenia.
The point, though, I think Russell makes a fair point, which, for example, schizophrenia is a great example. You'll have people that are schizophrenic who believe that they hear, for example, voices and instructions coming to them from traffic noise. And so if that person says, well, the traffic noise speaks to me, do I simply accept that the traffic noise is speaking to them, or do I think there's something else going on there? And so when somebody tells me I feel God, my question is, you have this feeling, but how have you determined that what you're feeling is a God? Just like how has he determined that what he's experiencing is actually intentional messages from the traffic noise?
Well, I've never gotten those feelings. The ones that I am labeling God, the ones that I'm choosing to label God. I've never gotten those feelings outside of prayer, or when I read the Bible, or when I speak on Jesus, things like that. I didn't feel those feelings.
It happens during times when you're strongly thinking about this God concept that you strongly believe in, and you are focusing on this idea, and then sure enough, you're feeling the thing you expect to feel.
Sure.
Right. Well, I can read a book by Kerouac. I can read a book, and I can speak on that writer, or I can speak on that person, and I don't feel that same connection.
But are you expecting Kerouac to appear in your head? I don't think so.
No, but neither do I expect God to appear in my head, and I wouldn't say that he necessarily appears as an image or anything like that in my head. It's more of a felt presence.
What do you think it is causing these feelings?
Well, I don't know. To me, if you ask me what I think is causing that feeling, I would say it was God.
Okay, but what does that mean? I don't know what God is. I don't know what you're calling God. So can you clue me in a little bit on what it is we're talking about when you say God is causing this?
It's hard to say what God is unless you are God. I can't.
Whoa! Wait a minute now.
It's not hard for me to say what Tracie is.
Wait a minute. If somebody's going to tell me that we're communicating here, and they say to me, "God caused this," and I say, "I'm not sure what a God is."
Well, I don't think I've stated that God has caused anything for me or anything.
You seem to be saying that you believe that these feelings are caused by a God. Am I misunderstanding you?
Okay. No, you're right.
Okay.
I'll retract that.
All right, that's fine. So you have these feelings, you believe they're caused by a God. I don't know, when I hear this, what I'm hearing is X causes these feelings, and what I'm asking now is, okay, well then let's examine what exactly are you saying is causing these feelings? What is X? Can you please solve for X in a way that makes sense to me, that I can understand what you mean by God?
Well, I'm a Christian Baptist. I believe in that God created us and whatnot. Okay. So when I feel the presence of God, that is who I label God.
So what you basically are saying to me is, I believe that X created everything, and when I feel these things, I think X is causing it, and I'm saying I still don't know what you're calling X. What are you calling God?
I guess the Creator.
What does that mean? What is the Creator?
The person who created the universe, Earth, all of existence.
Where can and you're saying it causes these feelings, and I would like to then go and check your claim against reality. You're saying that it causes feelings in you, this thing, and I would like to go and look at this thing and see if it's possible that it can cause feelings in people like you're describing. So how do I do that?
Well, I wasn't calling to, prove to you that God exists.
No, I'm just trying to understand. I'm not asking you to prove it. I'm trying to understand. If I wanted to understand what you're describing, how would I go about doing that? If I wanted to know what you even mean by the word God, where would I get that information?
Well, the Bible.
Well,
I'm not telling you to go read the Bible, but
I've already read it. But can you tell me what part specifically?
I'm not preaching or nothing. Right. But if you tell me, or if you ask me, where would you get the information that I have on God or what I believe to be in God? Then
what I recall about the Bible and God is that it was a book of claims about the types of things that God does, the types, certain things. It had lots of interesting, I guess, things, but it didn't really give me any way to confirm those things against any sort of reality, right? So if I have all these other people making claims about X is this, X is that, and I'm saying, when truth, would you agree with this or not, that truth is that which corresponds to reality? Like if someone claims something and it corresponds to reality, it's true. If it doesn't, then that would be false or a lie. Is that correct? Basically, I'm not trying to...
Yeah, but you would have to define reality. Reality can be a lot of different things.
So, for example, if you're in a boat and there are rocks in the water and you're navigating that channel, I'm going to call the rocks reality. So basically, when you navigate the boat, if you ignore the rocks and you say they're not there, it doesn't really matter because the boat will hit them and you will sink regardless of your beliefs. So the rocks in that scenario would be reality. So I'm talking reality is the thing that we run into that we cannot deny because it confronts us and sinks our boat. So,
I guess I need to clarify a little bit, and I can see why. I guess I'm just saying, you can perceive a dream as reality while in the moment of the dream. So
right,
reality
but we recognize that it's not reality. That there's a difference between a dream world.
Maybe if you're a lucid dreamer, but I mean, not everybody inside of a dream can realize.
Even if you're a lucid dreamer, I would think dreams are things that happen in your mind.
Yeah, and this is getting a little bit too confusing because I'm asking for a very simple thing here. If somebody makes a claim about something and I want to know whether or not the claim is accurate, I have to have something that I can go examine in reality. I mean, you're saying it exists, I assume. If it exists, that means that it is manifest somewhere, how, or some way in reality. And so what are we talking about? Where do I, if somebody says God created the universe, where do I go to check to see if we have a God that can create universes?
I understand what you're saying there, but I mean, I'm not a scientist. I couldn't demonstrate those things to you. I mean, could you demonstrate to me some physics? Like, could you build a Tesla coil for me right now? But I mean, that doesn't.
No, but I'm not making
Tesla
claims
coil.
About Tesla coils.
No, I know, but that's
but I can at least get a schematic for a Tesla coil. Can I get a schematic for God?
She could demonstrate some rocks.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, it's almost like I might not understand how the brakes of my car work, but I can go learn about it. I can go examine them. I can go take a look at them. I can go look at Tesla coils.
You can go learn about God, too.
Where would I go and look at a God and look at the schema for God?
I was saying look at a God, and you said learn about, and I'm telling you that you can learn about God.
No, hearing people make claims that I can't confirm is not learning about anything. That's just simply accepting claims without verifying them, which I don't understand. What I'm saying is that you can tell me that X is causing all kinds of things, but I still don't know what X is.
This is more or less what I'm saying. Like, yes, you can go learn how to build a Tesla coil, but you can't do that tomorrow. As in, I cannot present to you the evidence of God today because I have not studied on how to present said evidence.
There is it's not about studying.
There
I mean,
really
you
isn't.
believe it, what convinced you? A feeling.
You brought up the Bible a few
As we're
times,
talking
but
at the
a
same
lot
time,
of people read the same Bible and come to incredibly different and diverse conclusions about what God is like. But unfortunately, we're totally out of time, but I hope you will call back again some other week because this has been a really good discussion.
It has.
All right, thank you. I will. Y'all
Thanks,
have a good
Elijah.
day. Have a good day.
See ya.
Yep.
That's our show. We'll be at El Arroyo pretty soon in half an hour. And
After show.
What?
After show.
Yeah, and we'll do an after show. And we're blank. Thanks, Tracie.
Thank you.